The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Hello, and welcome to the very latest episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 376, and got a tremendous guest for a Thursday evening, none other than the current EVW Limitless champion and one of the very best heavyweights in the UK in 2025. Born to do this, Liam Jones. How are you, my friend? And great to finally have you on Wrestling with Johners.
Yeah, it feels like this has been a long time coming. Remember watching from my kitchen you and Simon Quest's interview, either last year, even maybe the year before. So at that moment, I was like, I'm getting on a John's podcast. I'm not reaching out. I'm waiting for that moment where I deserve it. And here we are.
Well, the really great thing is, I mean, we work a lot of shows together, whether it be SWW or United Wrestling. You're usually there with the ring hire or performing, and you always make a point of coming up, and we spend a good 10 or 15 minutes having a bit of a chat before the show. So that's really, really cool. So no, it was bound to happen, and I always believe in timing is everything, and a lot of my interviews kind of happen very fortuitously, and for you, I think you're coming off the back of one of your strongest, if not the strongest year in Liam Jones's wrestling career, and we're going to talk all about it. But thank you so much for joining us live, and of course we are live. So for anybody at home watching us live on Wrestling with Johners, exclusively on YouTube, thank you very much, and please get in touch. First of all, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to share and tell your friends all about Wrestling with Johners. We are heading into our 7th year now. In fact, I think we're probably in our 7th year, started in 2018. We've done hundreds and hundreds of interviews with the very best British talent and talent from around the world, of course. But if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do. Just simply send us your questions, send us your comments for Born to Do This, Liam Jones, and we'll try our very best. We will endeavour to answer every single question live on air. But before we start taking a deep dive with Liam, just a reminder, this is only my 4th interview of 2025, and it started at the beginning of 2025 with Kid Lycos 2, and he graced us with his presence and his mask at the beginning of January, and what a fantastic year. And many would say a star-making, a breakout year for Kid Lycos 2 was 2024. We spoke all about that at the beginning of the year. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had Hustle Malone on, the man behind Sacrifice Pro and one of the very best professional wrestlers in the UK. We talk about his transformation into the rebooted version of Hustle Malone over the last 12 months or so. And that was a really fun, fantastic, and very insightful interview. And then, of course, just over 7 days ago, we had the spectacular twat Charles Crowley live on the show, live on Wrestling with Johners, a returning guest from almost 3 years ago. But Charles Crowley, a fantastic interview. Check that one out. We spoke about his journey with Progress, winning the Progress Tag Team Championships as one half of the Cheeky Little Buggers with Alexis Vulcan, and possibly being on the verge of winning his first singles championship when he takes on Simon Miller tomorrow, as a matter of fact, for the Proteus Championship. Now, a bit of an exclusive to anybody watching right now. My next guest, next Tuesday the 18th, I think it's going to be, is none other than Amir Jordan. Amir Jordan will be joining us Tuesday the 18th, 8 p.m, live on Wrestling with Johners. Just come back from a debilitating injury, 8 months on the shelf. He's got himself into some fantastic shape there, as you can tell by the graphics. But Amir Jordan will be joining us next Tuesday live on Wrestling with Johners. But today, it's all about this guy here, born to do this, Liam Jones, the current EVW Limitless champion. What a tremendous career he's had. We were speaking off air about kind of partly to do with the journey that he's been on for pretty much his whole life, but we're going to talk all about that. But when you think back to 2024, I mean, I said earlier that I felt that it was probably the best year, or one of the very best years, in Liam Jones's wrestling career so far. I mean, I saw you branch out into a lot more groups, a lot more companies around the UK, and perform in some of the best professional wrestling. I've seen you perform. So 2024, I thought it was a fantastic year for you, Liam.
Yeah, I think 2023, hopping back a year, I think I took a lot of things for granted. I think I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I think going into 2024 was a big thing for me to prove to everyone that I'm actually capable of not necessarily being the star of the show, but being an asset to the show, whether it's with the ring or myself. And I just wanted to prove myself all over again, which to some people sounds daft. You've been doing this your whole life and you feel like you have to prove yourself. But I feel like 2023, I let myself slip so far on my attitude that I just had to come back and prove myself all over again. And I think I did. I think I shut a lot of people up on their opinions of me or their opinions of my past attitudes, whether it was in the locker room or my performances. So 2024 was about that reboot, branching out, making new connections, which I did. Then 2025 is, if not bigger, more connections, more debuts, and just bigger matches across every platform that I can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you kind of eloquently explained there why you felt 2024 was a fantastic year for you. But I felt that with 2024, there was so much clicking with your experience in the business, your in-ring experience as well, your look, your presence, your promo ability as well, being a fantastic talker behind the mic. I felt that so many things were clicking for Liam Jones in 2024 that would quite possibly have the best version of Liam Jones right now in 2025.
Yeah, for sure. And I never want to say I'm at my best version yet because there's always something that I can do better, whether it's for me behind the scenes, whether it's making sure I'm saying hello and goodbye to everybody if I'm missing people, whether it's working on myself in ring, whether it's my cardio, my look, my hair, whatever it is, my theme song, or whether it's my actual wrestling ability. I feel like there will forever, forever be something to work on, not just for me, but for everybody. Everyone, no matter how great you are, you have something to improve. So as much as I feel like I'm in my element at this moment and that I have found myself and my character as such, I still feel like next year I got to be better. Next year after that I got to be better, and I've just constantly got to keep improving, or else there's no point to this and there's no end game. So that's where I'm at the minute.
Absolutely. Let's bring up some more pictures of the Limitless Champion. We will talk about EVW and being the Limitless Champion very, very soon. Some fantastic promo pictures here. And there you are with the Limitless Championship one more time. But the last time we saw each other, Liam, was in Cheltenham, the Cheltenham Town Hall, just a few weeks ago. That dreary Sunday afternoon, but it was a fantastic atmosphere inside the Town Hall. And it was this match here. And I've got to say, all of the matches, I mean, SWW, Southwest Wrestling, they always put on fantastic matches, fantastic shows, fantastic storylines, as we saw with the culmination of many of them storylines and matches in the Cheltenham Town Hall at Talking About a Revolution. But that fatal four-way for the Openweight Championship, it was just off the wall, kind of four big guys. Well, let's say there's yourself, Flynn Burden, Big Jim Diehard, and Sid Oakley. He can move as well, but the four of you were throwing each other around. It was this massive humanity being thrown around that ring, some huge moves, some great action. But I'm going to bring up some pictures here because showing you kind of lifting Big Jim Diehard up. What goes up must come down, and some great pictures here from Wrestleography. And what a tremendous. Now, obviously, it didn't turn out your way, but what are your memories from that match? Because it kind of went by at blistering pace, but the four of you, and especially, like I say, the massive humanity in that ring, it was tremendous.
So my memory of that match is Flynn being pinned. That's the only memory that sticks with me. Same as the Southwest show before that, I was never pinned again. No DQ, and there was a disqualification. So I feel like them saying that Liam Jones lost is a bit a bit unfair. But on a real level, I had Bridge Pro in Stourbridge on the Friday night in a huge 5-man scramble. I then had EVW on the Saturday against Eddie Reed, one of our great upcoming lads, and then this 4-way. And going back to talking about ring hires, we was there from 10 a.m., set up with the ring, production from the entranceway to the lighting to the sound, and everything was spot on. So it was really a long day for me. And I just knew that I've had 2 good matches this weekend, and I've got to make this one as good as I can. Flynn and Sid, their wrestling is amazing, but as good as their wrestling is, it's about their characters. Obviously, Flynn's character on the Get Sexy vibe, but it's that upbeatness, that retro lover as such. That's him. Then Sid Oakley is the complete opposite. He's that drunk guy you see outside of the bar spitting whiskey in a bird's face. Big Jim, we're going in there and we are just throwing hands. And I've said to Pete from Southwest, I've said to Jim, I've said to everyone that I'd love a one-on-one with Jim. Not just because I'd love to get him on my shoulders and throw him again and actually, get the 3 count without Sid getting involved. But to me, that match just brought all the different elements of wrestling together just to make something that, everyone could enjoy and the crowd seemed to enjoy and that the crowd were hot for.
Absolutely. And here he is, the King of Beasts, Big Jim Diehard, with the SWW Openweight Champion, the brand new Openweight Champion. What a journey he's been on with Southwest Wrestling and around the UK over 20 plus years. But he's the man, because as you rightly said, you've never been pinned kind of in your journey towards that championship. Obviously, the match you had with Flynn in the Frog and Fiddle before Christmas, that was ruined by outside interference. You didn't get pinned in that 4-way, and that tussle, that battle between yourself and Jim in the ring, as those pictures kind of demonstrated. I think that's a match that SWW have to book somewhere down the line and to give you your fair one-on-one match that you haven't really had yet.
I think that's not only for me and Jim and for Southwest as a company. I think within wrestling and fans, there's something exciting about seeing 2 big dudes just squaring off, throwing hands, trying to see who can lift the other one up, because it's not something you see much these days, especially in the UK. You don't see that many big heavyweights that can move, and not blow my trumpet, that you move as well as myself or Jim do. So having 2 big dudes squaring off, throwing hands, and then moving as fast as the guys like Leon Cage is, I think that's just something that is special for wrestling in general. And I think that's why matches like this are really important.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, that is not the next match that you have lined up with SWW. It's this one here, and a triple threat match featuring yourself, Yeston Reese, who was victorious in the Chatham Town Hall at Talking About a Revolution, and Mr. Fox. And wherever Mr. Fox is, he's not too far behind Tyson T-Bone, the commissioner's enforcer. But that triple threat match, and back inside the Frog and Fiddle, Liam, back inside the Frog and Fiddle, back inside Cheltenham, a place you know very, very well. And we'll talk more about the Frog and Fiddle a bit later. But that match is pretty tasty. 3 experienced guys in the ring there that know what they're going to do. And that's going to be a battle for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think what a lot of people don't realize is for a long time, Yeston was one of my coaches through my 17, 18-year-old life. He was one of my coaches, and regularly on a show, it'd be me and him working in the main event together, teaming. We've wrestled each other once, which I did get the win, which was, I want to say, in 2019 potentially. Like, it was a good time ago, and obviously a lot has changed for both of us. But so I'm not saying I know Yeston in and out, but I've had that experience of working with him, and as much as they're my trainers and I'm there asking that advice to make myself better, I'm then also in my head going, okay, I know when I work them, I know this is how much their body moves, I know this is how much they can do here. And then it's the same with Foxy, same with Kian, especially during like the COVID era. me, him, James Mason, and T-Bone were doing a lot of training at the EVW Academy out of hours. As James was there as the NXT UK coach and running
Yeah.
us through these drills that he was taking back to the performance center, using us as his guinea pigs. I'm there watching Kian try and work out how to be a big man and learning how to use his size to his advantage. And I think the thing for Kian Fox, he's not been regular on shows for a while, which is not a knock to anybody, but I think going into that match, it's going to be me and Yestin just kind of picking Foxy apart. If Bone wants to get involved, then I say add him to the match. Just make it another 4-way at Southwest, and we can do that as well. But yeah, I think I have enough insight on both of them personally and wrestling wise that I can make the most of it for myself to make sure that I'm not getting screwed over again by not being the person being pinned, to make sure that the match isn't thrown out the window again. I think this time I have enough game plan and strategy to be able to get through this one better.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about, I mean, when I introduced you, Liam, I introduced you as one of the very best heavyweights in the UK in 2025. And I think you certainly demonstrated that in 2024. But with all of your experience in the business, which branches back many, many years, and we will touch on that a bit later on. But with all of your experience and all of your in-ring experience as well, what you're capable of doing in the ring, you know, I've openly described you as, you know, very, very fluid, very, very smooth in the ring. You're not just your typical heavyweight wrestler. You can do so much in that ring. And like I say, you can move as fast as a cruiserweight, do some fantastic moves, as well as all the power stuff, as well as all the big man stuff. But how would you describe yourself as a professional wrestler? How would you describe your style in the ring, Liam?
I've always described, especially this version of Liam Jones, very, very smash mouth, very arrogant, very hard hitting. But that arrogance is backed up by knowing that if you're throwing a drop kick at me, I can throw a drop kick just as high. So that's how I'm going to describe Liam Jones. As Liam Jones has that smash mouth aggression, but he also has that arrogance and confidence in knowing anything you can do, I can do just as good, if not better. And that's not a knock to anyone, and that's not me being too cocky and confident. I have spent many years being the small cruiserweight. I was out there doing the moonsaults, doing the dives, doing everything that I needed to do. And I've spent enough time being the big man, throwing the slams, throwing the power drivers, throwing the big right hands, so that I know that I have that perfect combination of both if I need to, when I need it.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, as a heavyweight, who are some of the wrestlers out there that you look up to that maybe you aspire to be similar to, or maybe model yourself on or influenced by in any stretch? But are there any wrestlers out there that kind of inspire or influence the 2025 Liam Jones?
I think it's more of an aspiration of what they're doing more than like what they're doing when it comes to getting out there as such. So Wild Boar is like a perfect example. Someone who is similar height, similar stature. Like he's lean now. Like he is looking great. But like Wild Boar is someone who I remember being that small, stocky dude, and he was in there moving quick and throwing people around. So I'm more looking at people on competition in the fact of how can I be them just as good as them and get out there just as much as them, or get out there further than them. Same with someone like Dan Maloney. I love Dan. I've known Dan for years. I wish I could say I talk to him regular, but if I said that, I would be lying. But Dan is someone who went from the young lad at Kamikaze to all of a sudden this stacked beast to now where he is at New Japan. So it's people like Dan and Hitch, and then even guys like going as far as like Jacob Fatu in WWE.
Yeah.
These big guys that are moving at incredible speeds, and that's where my domain is as well. So it's not working at inspiring from them; it's inspiring to be just as good, if not better than them.
Yeah, absolutely. And two names kind of jumped into my head when I was, obviously I've seen a lot of your matches in 2024 and done a lot of research on you in preparation for this. But Jacob Fatu would certainly be one of those in terms of a big guy that can move. Bam Bam Bigelow as well, in terms of being
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big guy that can move and can fly and can do pretty much anything somebody 100 150 pounds lighter can do. But watching some of your matches, for example, you can hit a drop kick better than pretty much anybody. You're a spine buster, your pile drivers, your powerful clotheslines, the backbreakers to power bombs, the rolling sentons into the corner, your crossbody off of the second rope. And I think you even pulled, was it a springboard cutter that you brought out of retirement, say, in one of your matches last year? But no wasted motion at all. And every single move delivers and means something in that match. But your repertoire is absolutely fantastic for a guy of your size. I'm going to bring up some pictures here, some fantastic photographs. Like I say, the power and the intensity that goes into your repertoire, your moves, and this, I think this was that cutter that I referred to, that I alluded to earlier on, and Simon Quest falling victim of that. But tell us a little bit about your repertoire, because you said that in your formative years you were a smaller, leaner wrestler, but it seems like a lot of that skill set is still carried over into the Liam Jones that we see in 2025.
I think that's to do with mentally. I sometimes forget that I'm the big guy now, and in my head I'm still that 16, 17-year-old little kid candy that's gonna be flying around the ring, and I forget sometimes on actually that's not me anymore. I'm not the one that should be jumping off the top rope as much anymore. Like, my body reacts different to how it did back then. But from obviously with the training school being pretty much access to when I can go whenever. So sometimes I will go in there and I'll just, for the sake of it, practice a moonsault or practice my spiral tap, or I'll be in there and I'll get like Levi Cooper or someone to come up with me and we'll just work on something like a bit silly, and it's just keeping that springiness, I guess, in my step. And like things like the springboard cutter is something um, I used for a while, so around, I want to say 2018, 19, I could be wrong. Around that period is where I went from Kid Candy to Liam Jones. I was still like the small flyer, and I was still using things like the springboard cutters, the big moonsaults, and everything. Um, but that's where I first had my first ever villain run. And so I kept one move, and the one move was the springboard cutter. So that's like the one thing that has come from the Kid Candy into Liam Jones, into Liam Jones. Now that's that one move. I don't use it every match because I feel like if you have a big move or a cool move like that, you shouldn't do it every time. Same as like everyone go, "Oh, Liam, your suicide dive through ropes is amazing." But if I did it every single show, you wouldn't tell me it's amazing anymore. It would just be the standards. If I did a moonsault every match, it wouldn't be cool anymore, impressive. It'd just be Liam Jones doing a moonsault. So I have so many other things that I know that I'm capable of doing, like things like the moonsaults, things like the spiral taps, which I have not done since I was like 18, 19, 20 on a live show in front of an audience. But I know that I have that. So if I ever get into a situation where it is a big time match where it's okay, something huge is needed here. Okay, I'll pull out that moonsault. I'll pull that out, and then it'll be more of a, oh wow, this is crazy that Liam's done this, but Liam could have done that the whole time. It's
Yeah.
just like you said, it's picking their moments and making it make sense. Everyone's seen me do a pile driver 100 times over. Everyone's seen it, and everyone knows how much that it's gonna hurt someone. Whenever I hit it, 9 out of 10 times, people know that I'm gonna win with it. So if I can have these other moves in my back pocket. So like last Saturday, I wrestled Adam Lane at Evolution Wrestling. Granted, Simon Quest was in the crowd watching, but I hit. It wasn't a very good one, but I hit an Angel's Wings. I hit Simon's finish just to get the story done. Wrestling Eddie Reed at Evolution the other week, I hit a package power driver, which is uh, not my usual move, um, but it's different. So every time I'm trying to develop this extra part and layer to my character. If it's not necessarily going to be the power driver that does it anymore, it's going to be something. It's going to be something that's big and it's going to look nasty. But I just want it to be a bit more of a surprise now and a bit of a shock to show people that how vast my repertoire really is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's the perfect blend of your archetypal heavyweight wrestler, power guy, strong, big moves, and then of course you can shift it around the ring as well. You can take it up a gear or two when the pace is required. But do you feel, certainly off the back of the last couple of years, and we said 2024 was such a strong year for you, do you feel that you're finally getting the recognition that you deserve as one of the best heavyweights in the UK?
So this is like a real double-ended sword for me. So recognition, I feel like personally, I feel like I have worked hard to get the recognition that I'm getting now. Um, but as egotistical as it might sound, there's a part of me that goes, okay, I've been a coach for a good few years now, and I've produced a lot of guys. I've helped a lot of people in their careers they've gone to Japan or to WWE or whatever. And when they come back to the UK, they're still asking for little bits of advice and little things like that. That's the cocky side of me going, I know that I have a lot more to be recognized for than what I am. But then at the other side, there's so many good wrestlers out there or people in the back who I think deserve more recognition than what they get. So it's so double-edged for me on, I feel like, yeah, I should get a bit more recognition as much as the recognition I'm getting is amazing. And it's appreciated. Like, it means so much. I'll reply to every fan that messages me. I'll reply to every worker that messages me. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it might take a couple of days, but I will reply. But there's so many people that I think don't get recognition. Like at EVW, we have a lad called Chris who does, he comes out on every ring job with me. He does the lighting, he does the music, he does the screen production. And I think if people like that deserve more recognition. I think people who are running shows, like I was messaging Ryan Parrott the other day, I don't know how much he wanted to be out there, who is a big part of Bridge. He is the founder, he is everything to do with Bridge. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. I'm not saying it's easy, but to go out and do a 10-minute match, everyone can do that. I say everyone, most of us can do that, okay? If we've trained hard, you can do that. But it takes a lot more to advertise a show. It takes a lot more to be able to pay that wage bill. It takes a lot more to make it happen. And I feel like those people don't get enough recognition there. So in specs, yeah, I'm very happy with my recognition and I appreciate it and it's amazing. But I feel like there's so many other people in different roles that don't get the recognition. Not just from fans, which obviously fans don't see the behind the stars, but I feel like a lot of wrestlers take people for granted. Like at Bridge, Alex Carnos, his partner is one of the commentary. And I just thanked her for the commentary work. And she was like, oh, no one ever recognizes it or thanks me for it. And it's like, it's crazy to me because they're the ones that are making those clips 10 times better. I thank you every time we do a backstage interview because you're giving me that extra content, that extra work. And I feel like a lot of workers and lads need to take their head out their asses a bit and give more recognition to people behind the scenes. And I think it's been an issue for a while. But I think going in 2025, I think a lot of us need to start fresh and throw more recognition out to those who deserve it. And I have rambled there because it is something that does wind me up quite a lot.
Very well said. Very, very well said. And let's jump to some comments. We've had quite a few people who have reached out already. And let's see, we've got Anthony watching us live at home. Liam Jones, Kid Candy never dies.
Oh.
Obviously a big fan of yours and a big fan of Kid Candy, who was one of your earlier reincarnations. Let's have a look. And JJD watching us live at home via YouTube. A bit behind the stream, but would like to see the match between yourself and Big Jim. I think we all would, to be honest with you, JJ, for sure. And let's have a look. There's a few others that have come through. We will get into more of these questions and comments that have come through. But thank you, JJ. Just going to get rid of your comment there. I want to bring up this now because last year celebrated 20 years of EVW, 20 years of Evolution Wrestling. And what a celebration it was. Over 2 separate nights, 2 separate shows. I think it's one in September, one in October, just to really kind of cap it off and hammer home what a fantastic occasion it was for yourself, for everybody involved in EVW, and for the fans as well. But what is it for you that makes EVW such a special promotion to be a part of? And especially having been such a big part of its rich 20-year history, Liam.
So Evolution Wrestling isn't just bringing in stars. It's not just constantly big names. It's bringing in those names to help those academy guys, to help those guys that aren't known, that don't have that recognition. Like, I'll throw his name out there again, Levi Cooper. Like, he's one of our trainees from our school. He started in our kids' classes. And we bring him in, and he, yeah, he is. Unfortunately, he's a bit ugly, but there he is. but no, like Levi, he's an amazing worker. But unfortunately, a lot of wrestlers will never ever get that platform, whether it's because of how they look or just because there's millions and thousands of wrestlers, and there's just not enough room for everyone. So Evolution Wrestling gives that platform to those up and coming stars and put them against the likes of your Scotty Rorks, your Reese and Rogans, your Robbie X's. Put them against them. They learn. So not only can they get better and take that information elsewhere, but they can build their portfolio. Levi Cooper it was either beginning of last year, he worked tape mate fairs for EVW. And he said he learned so much from him. And then like 3 months later, Levi then has been offered a wrestle in Belgium. Same as Brazen, another one, he wrestled Scotty Rourke, and he said he learned so much to do with intensity and work ethic. Then again, he was then offered to go international. And so that's a big key thing. At Evolution Wrestling, you're going to see matches that you've not seen elsewhere. Granted, we have a show coming up, and it is a lot of big stars versus big stars, which is all to do with promoting our first ever all-women's event. But Evolution Wrestling is about the community, the wrestling community. For those lads that feel like they can't get out there because of their look or because they don't have them connections, we're not about connections or clicks. If you've worked hard and you deserve it, then you deserve it, and we're going to give you that. Show just gone past Saturday. We have a trainee who goes under the name Romantico, and granted, his wrestling isn't there yet, and he is aware of that, and that's something we work on. But with it being a Valentine's show and his character, he said, I want to be a part of the show. Okay, what do you want to do? We come to an agreement, we work something out, and he special guest refereed Levi Cooper versus Brazen, which then he ended up being a part of reffing in the main event with T-Bone. And it's like those little things. He's going to learn from being in that ring with T-Bone. May it be a minute or 2 minutes, he's going to learn from being in there. He's going to learn how they're reacting to the crowd, how they're calling, how they're talking. And that is what makes us so special and stand out. And not only that, we put on bangers, okay? Our shows are incredible. We go to areas and venues and fans go, we can't believe we've been missing this out. And I think that's something so special and so affordable. And we take that time to connect with the audience, with those fans, whether it's the kid in the front row who was too shy to come to the meet and greet. Next year, he'll come along and he'll be shouting in wrestlers' faces because he has made that connection. And I think that's what a lot of companies miss out. And this is where we capitalize.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And as I mentioned last year, 2024 marked 20 years of Evolution Wrestling, EVW. Tell us kind of what that occasion of that 20-year anniversary, what that occasion meant to you, and and everybody involved, because not many wrestling promotions kind of make it to 20 years. Not many wrestling promotions make it to 5 years, but 20 years is such a momentous occasion, especially with you being so close to the promotion. What did that occasion, and what were the emotions as well during them two shows? Because big occasions, obviously, a lot of planning, a lot going on, a lot of big matches. You were very much a part of the show as well, but a lot of emotions, and like I say, a huge occasion. But what did it mean to you?
It was incredible. Like you said, not many people can run shows, promote shows, and make it that long. It is a hard thing. So it was so special and joyous for us. But for me, on a personal level, it was a fresh start in the fact of, okay, we've been going 20 years. Now we've got to amp it up again. We've got to make it even better. So in 2018, we used to run a place called GL1 Leisure Centre in Gloucester, which is the biggest venue in the area. Um, and we used to run there and we used to pack it out. And then due to the venue changes, we no longer ran there. This year, we have that venue back. We have Robbie X coming in representing Bullet Club. We have Steel Cage coming in. Like, this is as much as 20 years, and we're celebrating that. That 20 years is another rebirth to work to another 5, to work to another 10, to work to another 20. So to me, that's about now we're up in that game. Our posters have been so good last year and the year before, but this year we're taking it another step up. We've already done 3 brand new venues. Our next 2 shows are another 2 venues, and we have another 3 or 4 venues coming this year. One that was announced last night in Worcester. Like, we're taking this from being a show every month to we are out here weekly doing stuff and trying to sell out. And we want to work with other companies as well. We don't want to just fob everyone off. We want to work with people. But if people don't want to work with us, that is fine, and we will make sure that we are just outworking you. If that is your goal, is to cause us issues, which unfortunately there is still promoters that contact venues and try and cancel them. And if you're listening, you know who you are. Okay, there's unfortunately promoters that still do that. And if that is your game, then Evolution Wrestling is just going to outwork you. That's what this next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is about. 20 years is great, but the future is going to be even bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about kind of your connection, your collaborations with other companies. And certainly the first one that jumps to mind for me is SWW, Southwest Wrestling. And I think 2024, it was very, very clear, very, very apparent to anybody watching either EVW socials, SWW socials, or at the shows themselves that there was definitely, that this kind of rivalry, this storyline, this feud brewing, not just between certain wrestlers, but between 2 companies. You could tell at certain shows, you definitely had your EVW fans who were very vocal and very kind of adamant that EVW was the number 1 group out of the 2. And you had your SWW fans, SWW faithful. But storyline kind of rivalry aside, it's so refreshing to see local groups working together for the betterment, for the benefit of the fans, the product, the wrestlers, and the business. You don't see that very often nowadays. And like I say, I've kind of worked in and around the business for the last 5 or 6 years. And even where I live, it's war in factions, there's war in promoter. People are tearing each other's posters down. And that's kind of not a new thing. That's been going on for decades. But certainly what EVW and SWW were able to do and achieve in 2025, I think you guys, 2024, so you guys are looking at the bigger picture, and it's so refreshing to see.
Yeah, and so it's no secret on how EVW and SWW did have issues, not just in the wrestling world, but outside. Like, in reality, me and Pete, we didn't necessarily see eye to eye. EVW and SWW did not see eye to eye, and there was genuine issues. And there was a couple wrestlers who, time and time again, were like, okay, maybe we should work stuff out. And imagine a big mega show. And I think it was Gilligan Gordon, I can't remember when it was, a few years ago, it was like, imagine an EVW versus SWW mega show at Cheltenham Town Hall. And this is before Pete even had Cheltenham Town Hall. This is before me and Pete ever actually sorted stuff out. But it went to another promoter who has set up 10 shows in the last 3 years and never ran a single one. But it was them that was giving us grief for a lot of years, whether it was tearing posters down or calling venues or giving us grief, moved on to giving Pete grief. And in the end, I was like, me and Pete were like, okay, we've established something great here with SWW and we've established something great here with EVW. Let's bring the 2 together. We are Hulk Hogan, we are Macho Man, we are bringing this together. We are having the mega powers and we are just going to run it over. Exactly. And that is what happened. And the first time I think I properly met Pete was not last year, the year before at Lakefest. Me and Simon Quest went up and did the Friday at Lakefest, which was an amazing experience in general. It was great fun. And it just gave me and Pete and everyone to do with the EVW SWW rivalry a chance to go, this is going to be something cool. And like, it's been good for both companies, but also the wrestlers, like you said. Like Levi has worked for SWW, Brazen has worked for SWW, the Laners, Simon Quest. This joint has helped the promotions. And like I said earlier about EVW being about elevating that talent, SWW has helped us do that as well. And we've been able to use the SWW talent like Chris Bronson, Dinger Bain. JJ Gale he originally started at EVW in his wrestling journey years and years ago, and he went off to do bigger, better things. But we have him back this year. And it's just, if we never had that conversation and that sit down, it does make me question sometimes on how would the wrestling scene in this area still be, because I still see other promoters arguing and causing each other issues, and they're getting nowhere. They're just clashing heads, and everyone is watching and judging. Let's be honest, everyone is watching these promoters arguing online and thinking, what a load of bollocks. But we're here working together, and we're just making something better than anyone else's at this point.
Very well said. Very well said. I want to touch on some of the individuals within EVW, and one person I want to touch on, start off with, is your brand new EVW heavyweight champion, T-Bone, Tyson T-Bone. Now, a bit of a full circle moment for T-Bone, because that's actually his fourth EVW heavyweight championship, I believe. But his championship win, gaining number 4 this past weekend, I believe, was a full circle moment, because he was actually the very first EVW heavyweight champion 15 plus years ago, I want to say. Tell us a little bit about Tyson, the kind of journey that T-Bone's had with EVW through to winning his fourth championship very, very recently, and that full circle moment from being the very first champion, and what he's meant to the company as a whole.
So T-Bone goes back to that whole thing on people who don't necessarily have their name out there to getting their name out there. T-Bone has been with us pretty much since day dot. 20 years ago when EVW started, T-Bone was there with us. He was already training elsewhere. I believe it was UCW where he originally started his training, and obviously jumped on board with us and helped us grow, like as did Charlie Sterling at the time. And it was watching him go from Tyson T-Bone having okay matches, or at the time you think it's a good match, but then you see how much the scene changes. And then you go from seeing T-Bone at these little community centers with 30, 40 people into watching him in Preston versus Team 3D in front of thousands, to then seeing him on the stage with Triple H shaking hands for NXT UK, to then seeing him every single week on that channel, to then seeing him at our training school the next day, to now being the front man of the company. This just mind blowing on how far he's come, and he's such a great dude. Like, you'll watch T-Bone in the ring, he'll be snarling, he'll be battering people, but then you go and you talk to him, and he's a lovely frail old man, and like he's an incredible dude, and I'm very grateful to have him as a part of my, not only my life, but my wrestling life. 'Cause he has helped me so much being a key trainer, and a key motivator. Like, he'll sometimes pop up to the academy and I'll be like, okay, Mr. WWE, you lead tonight. And he'll be like, no, no, no. I've turned up to train. I'm doing what you're telling me to do. And I'm like, T-Bone, you were signed shaking hands with Triple H. You tell me what to do. And he's just, no, 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 no. You know what you're doing, Liam. You talk, Liam. And it's just little things like that that give me that reminder on, okay, I do know what I'm doing. I can hang with the boys. Working with T-Bone, I want to say 2-3 weeks ago, it was me versus T-Bone versus Levi in Levi's hometown. And just going from training with T-Bone as a kid to working with him now is just like mind blowing. He is, I'm going to use the United phrase here. T-Bone is a pillar of EVW. And I think without T-Bone throughout these years, I don't think that foundation would have stood. I think T-Bone is a key player in not just EVW, but the British scene in general. And I feel like no matter what your opinion is on him as a wrestler or as a person, you're going to be stupid if you're going to tell me that he is not a key aspect on why the Southwest scene is thriving today.
Yeah, 100%. And like I always love chatting to him and picking his brains behind the scenes whenever we're there. Mostly it's SWW shows, but a fantastic professional and a really, really top guy. Let's go to some comments that have come through. We've got Isabel watching us live at home via YouTube. Go on, Liam. And JJ again, well said about the behind the scenes crew. Yes, indeed. And thank you for the very kind words there as well. We've got to Q-Ball watching us live at home via YouTube. I remember the early EVW days back in Hampstead Village Hall every Sunday morning, I'm sure. And let's see. Yeah, I think that kind of catches us up with most of the comments. I will jump to a few more when it's a bit more relevant to know. Anthony, thank you very much. Keep sending in your questions and your comments. Thank you to everybody that's watching live at home. But sticking with EVW a little bit longer, and tell us about some of the other kind of champions and key players within EVW who you believe we should be more aware of and deserve a bit of a shout out. And should be keeping a bit more of an eye on. And you certainly mentioned Levi Cooper there, but who else within the EVW ranks and roster should we be keeping an eye
on? So at the minute, if we're looking at guys that are EVW through and through, Adam Lane at the moment, he was one half of our tag team champions along with his brother Mark. Mark at the minute was some personal injuries and issues. At the minute has taken a back seat. But Adam has just kept on consistently turning up to training, turning up to shows, working hard. And I believe that not just within EVW, I think if people actually sat and watched Adam Lane, they would think we can see this guy being a star in the next 5 years. He already has the look. He already has the charisma. He just needs those finishing, like that polishing, which is what we're working on now, working along with T-Bone and working with the other blokes on polishing that off to making that all-rounded star. But he is definitely someone that is well on the way there, as is Tommy Sykes. Tommy Sykes he's gritty, he's entertaining to watch, he works the crowd. The thing with Tommy is he just has such an awful beard, it just holds him back. If it wasn't for that awful scraggly beard, I think Tom would go so much further than what he is, because he's another one. He travels from Coventry to Gloucester, puts in that effort every week. I know he started branching off to try and go to the, I believe, a CPW school in Coventry. I believe he started to attend the Full Force school. He is someone else that puts that work in, whether it's the show or whether it's training. Rice Stevens, Eric Myers, teaming as GL2. They started to get a bit more recognition as GL2. But they both individually, if we're looking at Rice Stevens and Eric Myers, they are both two grafters. They work hard. Ryan has been around forever. I can't even remember when Ryan started. I just remember Ryan's 21st birthday, him being drunk and telling me one day he's going to be the world champion of WWE. And I think if Ryan actually, not even put his mind to it, I think if Ryan was given that chance and that break, I'm not going to say he's going to be a world champion, but Ryan definitely could be out there as a top star. Um, if going back to that, people giving others a chance, because the industry is so cliquey, and your face has to fit that right group. And sometimes I believe that your work should speak louder than who your friends are. And Ryan is someone whose work stands out. 2025, we are bringing in Yorkshire Tough. Yorkshire Tough is going to become a main standpoint. Yorkshire Tough, Reese and Rogan, they are two guys that I love on a personal level. I talk to Rogan like near enough every day. And 2024, they were on the rise. And I genuinely believe that by the end of this year, they will be the tag champs at Progress, at Rev Pro, everywhere. I genuinely believe that they will be everywhere. Same as Scotty Rourke. I think Scotty Rourke, like, he is going to be someone who you will want to see on any show. Any show you go to, he will be the star of it. And I think that's another amazing thing that we got going on in a minute. Our lads and our stars are so incredible, but we're also bringing in those up and comers. People like Chris Bronson. Chris Bronson is like the dude has everything. He
Yeah.
has the look, he has the charisma, he has the long blonde hair and the washboard abs. Like there is no reason why he cannot be a champion at any promotion in the world. And like bringing out all together, I think is just making a group of megastars, and they're all just striving for that chance. And like that goes back to me. I'm not gonna say I'm the next big breakout star, but I'm someone who is still working hard. There's also I'm getting out there. Like there's no denying that my name has started to spread, but I'm ready to get further. Fight Nation, the last show, it was TV tapings. I did show one. I opened the first show for the TV tapings whenever that's airing, um, but I wasn't on show two. There was lads that were on both shows, and by March, by April, by May, by whenever, I want to be the guy that's going to be on both shows. I want to be the guy that's winning these tournaments. I want to be the guy that's the face of everything. So, as much as there's so many lads that I'm going to put over and say are amazing and give them props to, I'm still there. Whether it's lurking in the background or being at that forefront, I'm someone else there who is just working to thrive and be the next big thing, we should say.
Absolutely. Let's talk about yourself as the EVW Limitless champion, because I know you've been the EVW heavyweight champion. I think you've possibly even been their tag team champions and won half of the tag team champions. But being their Limitless champion, it's a fairly new title within EVW. I think it came to fruition towards the end of 2023. And previous champions include Chantel Jordan, Nina Samuels, Tommy Sykes, and now yourself. Tell us a little bit about what the Limitless Championship means to you. And as the champion, where do you kind of plan to take it into 2025?
So to me, the Limitless Championship within EVW is the most unique belt, not only look wise. So going back to 2023, it was Darius as the Wrestle Carnival champion coming in to face Tommy Sykes as our middleweight champion, and Darius took all the gold. Darius took all the gold, and he come back on our last show of the year on Boxing Day, and he introduced the brand new title. He introduced the Limitless division, and the Limitless division is it's no matter your size, your age, your gender, how you want to be identified. It doesn't matter your size. It is just if you want a chance at this and you believe that you can do it, then you come and do it. Darius, he walked in Boxing Day, and Sykes did everything he could to finally get that win. He lost it to Chantal Jordan, which may have been my fault at the time. Sorry, Tommy, back then. But Chantal then went on an incredible run. Nina then took the belt, and Nina held the belt while she went off to Japan, while she traveled the world. So, to me, the Limitless belt is you look at who has held that so far, and no matter what they may have done with it match wise, you just look at the names behind it and how prestigious those names are. And going into 2025 as the champion, I don't want to make the name behind it prestigious. I want to make the championship prestigious. I want it to be the names are fighting for it and the names want to win it, but they ain't getting past me. That's my aim for this. I want to take it everywhere, and I'm sure it's going to come soon. At the wrestling in Coventry in March, I'm going to take the Limitless Championship there, and that's going to be the first time that it has been defended outside of EVW. I
There
want
you
to take
go.
the belt to Southwest. I want to take the belt to United. I want to take that belt everywhere. And I just want everyone to not only look at how lovely the belt looks and how amazing it looks, but I want people to go, okay, we can see that this Limitless division is something that's worth talking about. This is something that we should be aiming for. It's not just any regular gold. Like, how many white straps are there in the UK? Like, that belt is gorgeous. And I want people to go, I want that. So that's my goal as a champion, to make people want it, knowing that they will never get it because I will always work harder than them. I will always work smarter than them. Whether I have to break the rules a little bit, no matter what it is, I will make sure that I cling on to the belt as long as I can. And that's the thing. I was heavyweight champion. I have been tag team champion. I have been their middleweight champion, and I have been an academy champion. I have held every single belt, and every belt that I have held, it has I have elevated it. the tag team championships, me and Dale Johnson, we took them down to Cornwall. We showcased them at CPW. The middleweight champion, I defended it against Lionheart. I defended it against all the top stars. I defended it against Bino before he was Harrison Bennett. The Academy title, I was the first ever Academy champion. Every belt, whilst I've had it, I have made an effort to make people want it. And that is my aim for this. But like I said, Coventry, I'm bringing it here in March. Southwest, I'm happily bringing it there. Everywhere I go, I want to take that belt with me. I want to defend it. I want it to be spoken about. I want to get those cool Bear Vision, Matt Raven, wrestlography pictures. And I just want the internet to see it and the internet to talk about it.
Here we go. And I want to switch up subjects to one of your up-and-coming shows, Liam, and I want to talk about this here. EVW Prison Break 2, and just around the corner, February the 22nd, from Gloucester Prison. Now, my friends, obviously, wrestling is a very unique sport, and it's been hosted in many, many unique venues around the world, from town halls to caves. To out in the open at fairs, but from inside an actual prison, I'm not sure I've ever heard that before. I don't know whether it's the very first, but certainly the first I'm aware of. Tell us about the concept and them first few conversations about actually doing a wrestling show inside a prison.
So Gloucester Prison, obviously EVW being Gloucester based, Gloucester Prison was shut down in 2013. It was supposed to be remodeled and redesigned. I'm just going off what the owners have told us. It was supposed to be remodeled and redesigned to be modernized. The thumbprints, everything else to make it to be back in use. But where the prison is built was originally a castle, and the castle was knocked down for the prison to be built on top of it. And now within the prison walls and within the prison floors, they reckon there's around 123, 127 bodies that they don't know where they are, so they cannot touch the building. So there's nothing going on there. They do things like ghost hunts, whether that's what you believe in or not, which is how I first not discovered Gloucester Prison, but that's how I first ever entered it. And Brazen, actually, our former champ, he knew someone who was working within the venue, I think doing airsoft within the venue. And the person from the venue was just like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a wrestling show in a prison? Brazen was like, Liam, can we, we talk to them and have a word? And so, like I said, I'd already been there for other reasons. Other reason I'm going to clarify, that was on the ghost hunts before anyone thinks I've been locked up, because I have not. I'm not having that on my CV. So I already knew how the prison looked. I already knew the layout of it. We went in there, measured it out, and it was okay. We'd love to get it in the jail block. We would love to get it in the jail block. Fans stood up on the top looking in, and the ring just does not fit there. But if you entered the prison and the fans will see this, you will have to walk through the prison, and up the stairs in the heart of the prison is the prison chapel. So the ring is going to be set up within the prison chapel. Fans won't have free access to the whole of the prison, but there will definitely be wings of the prison that is open and accessible. There's certain cells that they will be unlocking, so you can have a look in where they've had notorious murderers, etc., who have been held in the prison, like Fred West. If you're familiar with the story, Gloucester killer who buried some bodies, he was there. So little things like that. There's so much history within there. So when they was like, we can actually make this work, and we worked out the logistics, it was just a no-brainer. And we pretty quickly announced on social media that we had the first show booked back in December. And Twitter being Twitter, they try to put a negative spin on it, and try to make fun of the wrestling scene and the wrestlers being in a prison, and and if you're going to do something and you're going to do something big, you will get negative with the positive. It's just the way the world works at the end of the day. So there was a big mixed reaction on people being like, wrestling in a prison, is that a good idea? And unfortunately, 2 days before our last event, the council pulled the plug on it due to a license discrepancy, like an insurance discrepancy. So this time when we had it booked, we were like, okay, we are getting months ahead of this to make sure that like you have no chance of doing anything like this to us again. So we held the event at our training school at the time, which was like a derelict looking industrial site. Whereas this time you will see former WWE stars, the biggest stars in the UK, in the most historic prison in the UK. And like you just put that in a sentence, you go to work and say, tomorrow I'm gonna go watch a former WWE wrestler in an abandoned prison. Like that is a crazy, crazy phrase to even come out with, let alone a concept that we are making a reality. And going back to what EVW does that's special, we're putting shows on a bloody prison. That is something that's special.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And let's have a look at the 5 matches that have been announced so far for Prison Break 2 from the Gloucester Prison on February the 22nd. And we'll just talk about some of these matches. Sapphire Reed versus Guy Smithson. Yourself versus Dale Johnson for the Limitless Championship. The Limitless title will be on the line. Emerson Jane versus Millie McKenzie. LA Taylor versus Nina Samuels, and then a 5-man scramble for the Evolution Heavyweight Championship. Mate, that is a stacked card, a stacked show with, as you said, former WWE stars, some of the biggest names in the UK and further afield. Heavy kind of like a female presence, 3 female matches on the card of 5, which is very, very impressive. But all day long, that card just screams, yeah, kind of take my money. But talk to us about some of their matches and some of the talent involved and what we're likely to see from Gloucester Prison on February the 22nd.
So, like, if we go back to like the last pictures you showed, the 5-man scramble for the heavyweight championship. Tyson T-Bone won the championship last weekend, and he said that he will put the belt on the line against anyone. And he said that he is going to be a gatekeeper of the company, and that he will put his foot down and stop anyone that comes in. Adam Lane, if you look at EVW, he is a former tag team champion, 2-time tag team champion. He has had 2 big title matches this year for the Limitless and for the Heavyweight, and he was screwed out of both those matches. So he is someone that is automatically on the cards that deserves a fair chance. You have DeReese, who is just constantly going abroad. Like, he is a mega star right now. If he is not signed to either AEW or WWE by the end of this year, then I don't believe anything else is possible,
There's
because
something wrong if he's
he
not.
is the person. He is the person that is going to be signed, and I believe that. Then you have Rice Stevens and Eric Myers. Rice Stevens won that championship on Boxing Day, and Eric Myers, his former best friend, cashed it in and made Rice Stevens' title reign 2 minutes long. T-Bone, the bloke who was the first ever champion, and bringing it back around and defending it against them 4 dudes, and the match is being in Elimination Chamber style, where every 3 minutes a contender will be released from a jail cell into the match. Like,
Awesome.
that concept alone, a wrestler being released, like, let's forget a plastic pod. They're being released from a jail cell
That
into
is
this
so
goddamn
awesome.
match. Like, that is something that, like, that's the main event that you cannot miss. And Bones' chances of walking out as champion is slim in that one. You look at the talent and everyone's motives on wanting that belt. You look at T-Bone and you think, how on earth are you going to Superman through this and walk away with the belt? And then going back to belts, me and Dale, a long, long history there. Like, me and Dale were best friends outside of wrestling. Like, that wasn't just a gold standard storyline. Then obviously me and Dale, like, we hadn't spoken in like a year. Things happen and people just don't talk, and they move away. And this is Dale's return, and this is a EVW plug by Liam Jones. If Dale thinks he's coming back and just gonna waltz in, that's not what EVW is about. Dale is not gonna waltz in half-ass his way to beat me for a 3 to walk away with the belt. If Dale wants to actually prove that he deserves to be on this roster with your Derises, with your Levi Coopers, with your T-Bones, he is going to have to walk into the building with his head high and put in a shift. And whether he thinks he's going to walk away with the belt or not, he needs to come in there, and he needs to bring the best Dale Johnson that he can. He has not been in the EVW ring since 2023. So he has a lot to prove coming into that match. And I think that's a match that fans will be excited to see. Last time me and Dale faced was at a tribute show where it was my last match ever as Kid Candy. Ever.
Oh,
So
that's
that was
going
a
back a
big
few
moment.
years then.
Yeah. So that was a big thing for me. That was I brought Kid Candy out of retirement for one last match. It was a memorial show for one of my best mates. And I was facing my best mate at the time. And that's the last time we worked each other. So this time I know Dale would have improved, but I also know that I am a completely different monster now than I was then. This match has more aggression built behind it because I am not having someone walk it in and think that they're going to get an easy payday and walk away. That is not what this is going to be. Dale will walk in and he will have the biggest challenge of his life. I might not be the biggest name he has faced or will face, but I will make sure that I hit Dale harder than I've ever hit anyone. And then we look at the rest of the cards. We have three of the biggest women's matches that you will see in the UK. Emerson Jane versus Millie. They have gone around the UK like they have millions of views online for their matches and how brutal and how incredible they are. They are in a prison on an 18 plus event tearing each other apart. They worked each other at Pro Wrestling Eve not too long ago, and the crowd went nuts. They worked each other at Rise, the crowd went nuts, and I have no doubt that that match is going to be the exact same in Gloucester Prison. The crowd are going to be treated to something real spectacular there. Then we look at Sky and Sapphire Reed. And if you know anything about Sky or Sapphire as wrestlers, they are two of the most aggressive females, two of the most aggressive women in the UK. Sapphire is a lot more loudmouth than Sky is. Granted, she has a lot more bark, but I believe that they will go in there and they will rip each other's heads off. And I think that match is going to probably be more aggressive than any other match that you will see or that you have seen thus far. And then you look at LA Taylor versus Nina Samuels. And to me, Nina Samuels is the top woman wrestler in the UK. She is one of the top women's wrestlers in the world. And I think she has proven that. She has gone to the big leagues and she has hung. She has proven that she is a megastar and that she deserves that respect put on her name. And LA Taylor is no different. Everywhere that LA Taylor goes, she dominates. And going to SWW, she walked in Cheltenham Town Hall and she left with the belt. She goes to TNT, she walks in, she takes the belt. Everywhere she goes, she proves that she is the demolition woman for a reason. So that is to me maybe the biggest women's match that you will see in 2025 in terms of star power. So when you put all of those five things, all of those five matches together on a card, and you go, you only have to pay the price that you're going to pay for a cheap takeaway to come to an abandoned prison, have a drink, and watch five of the best matches. Like, you would be daft not to come because it's going to be a show that is going to represent the best wrestlers in the UK, in the world, but it's also going to be one of the best shows that you will see live.
Absolutely. And how can anybody that's watching this now, or anybody that wasn't aware of that show was taking place, they live in the area, if there's still tickets available, where do they need to go and how can they get their hands on some tickets for Prison Break 2?
Of course, so you can just head to the EVW social media page, like we have been posting religiously. But if you go to evolutionwrestling.bigcartel.com, then it's there. Tickets for all our events there are all women's events, our 18 plus events at Gloucester Prison in Worcester is all there. If you manage to go back and watch this and freeze it, on the poster there is a QR code. You scan that QR code, it'll take you to the EVW link tree. So you're not only getting the website, you're getting the socials, you're getting everything. If you want to show your mates, you scan that QR code and you show everyone that this is the show that you want to go to.
There we go. Absolutely fantastic. And as Liam said, EVW socials are scrolling along the bottom of the screen. We'll talk more about your socials a bit later on, but at the very end of this little ticker is the address for EVW's Big Cartel, where all the tickets are available for all of EVW shows, because you've got a bit of a stacked lineup. I don't think we've touched on it just yet, but you've got shows advertised all the way through up until April. And you've got show posters made for shows all the way up until June, I believe. So you mentioned earlier how EVW kind of are, they've got a busy schedule, a busy calendar in 2025, probably its busiest year on record. And like I say, just looking through January all the way up until June, it's absolutely stacked, including Prison Break 2. So busy, busy, busy. Let's see where we are, because we've been really, really... So when we last saw one another, before doors opened at the Cheltenham Town Hall for talking about a revolution, we was having a good old chat and talking about kind of your love for wrestling and your life within wrestling, and how you were pretty much born into the business and started training from a very, very young age. Now, I introduced you at the top of the interview as born to do this, Liam Jones. It's not just a catchy phrase or a catchy moniker, is it? Because you are literally born to do this. Wrestling runs in your blood, and it's been part of your life from a very, very young age, hasn't it?
Yeah. So my first, I say my first training started when I was 5. No 5-year-old has the attention span to listen on, we're doing lockups and headlocks and shoulder tackles today. Like, I vaguely remember being like 6 or 7, and we're there doing tech wrestling. I'm in the ring with Vicky Haskins, who at the time was a trainee. And I remember her trying to grab me in a waistlock, and me just wriggling around, like not actually doing what I was supposed to be doing, just messing around and breaking her nail. And I remember like really winding her up. I remember back in the original training centre at Hempstead, like you had to carry the ring from a shed into the facilities set up, and I would just find footballs and I'd be kicking it at people as they're carrying these ring posts. So as much as like I say, like, yeah, I've been training since I was 5. Don't get me wrong, I was learning how to do the rolls, I was learning the lockups, and I was learning the bumps, but it was never something that was very serious for me. It was never something that I was like passionate about, in the fact of I'm going to make it a career. It was more, here you go, Liam. Here's a wrestling ring. Here's this. You go there. And that's kind of where that came from, and that push started. And I think a lot of dads, especially when they have lads, they kind of push them to football or to whatever. But I was pushed to a wrestling ring. And I think that's the big difference between me and everybody else within the industry. And like, so obviously I was attending shows before that and bouncing in the ring, and even leading after that age of 5 starting, I was still bouncing in the ring before shows, after setup. And I think that's where I started to realize that there's potential in this for me to do it for the long run, for me to make something of this, that I enjoy this, and that I'm going to put a lot more work and effort into this than I am going to football practice, going to rugby. I'll be honest, like, I wasn't doing my schoolwork. I was too busy doing this wrestling training. I was too busy going to training 3-4 nights a week. And that is just what it is. And that's where my my focus has been ever since. I'm going to quickly move the camera. I started with like 90% of my camera, my battery, and I'm already like dropping down to 20 here.
Get yourself plugged
Right.
in, Liam. Get yourself plugged in. But while you do that, I'm going to bring up some pictures. And while he's busy doing that, I won't embarrass him so much, because I'm going to be bringing up some pictures of a younger Liam Jones. And here is, you can definitely see the evolution of Liam Jones from he must have been like easily under 10 years old there as a teenager, and then growing facial hair, and then of course through to the Liam Jones that we see now in 2024, 2025. And as you explained earlier, Liam, you were a very different professional wrestler back then. Your look, your style, fresh faced, and then as you go through your teens, picking up championships, taking the sport a lot more seriously, your gear's changing, your hair's changing, through to kind of a version of Liam Jones that we recognize today. But I mean, that journey's been a long one, and that journey has been 20 plus years. And I think that's obviously given you a bit of an advantage, a bit of a leg up in terms of learning about the industry from a young age, learning about the business from a young age, learning certain techniques and drills before anybody even considers starting training. But you're already kind of most of the way there by the time people has their first training session. So you've got such an advantage. And as I described earlier, you're so fluid, so smooth in the ring. You're kind of talking your own language inside them four corners. But, has there ever been times within the business where, it's maybe got a bit too much, or where you've fallen out of love with wrestling, and where you've kind of really had to wrestle your own thoughts in your own head about whether this was really for you?
Like all the time, every year, like anyone that knows me well within wrestling knows, every year I always get to a point where I go, "Ah, what's the point? I can't be bothered anymore." And it's a big part of, for me, wrestling is everything. Wrestling is my job, it is everything. And obviously, anyone will tell you that wrestling isn't a money game. Unless you're in the big leagues, it's not a money game. So there's so many times I'm like, well, why don't I just stop training? I get rid of the training school and I just go back to working in a warehouse. Or there's so many times where I go, hang on, I have worked so hard advertising these shows, turning up to these shows early, and yet the guys that literally turn up and they don't give a toss are getting the shows instead of me. And in my head, going back to that, me trying not to be cocky, me going, I know that I'm just as good as them, if not better. And half the time, I'm there with the ring, I'm there at the venue, and I'm like, why am I not on the show? Why am I not the one in this spotlight? And I think I get very worked up, and a lot of self doubt comes in. Um, like working with T-Bone the other week in the triple threat with Levi. T-Bone was, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it, and I was just there. I was like, I could have done better, and it got to me, and it really winds me up when I feel like I'm not the best. And I don't mean like the best in the world. I mean the best version of me. So for me, when I feel like, why am I not getting this when I'm working this, and I get that self-doubt on, is it because of me? Is it because of people expect something from me, or they don't expect something from me? I question everything. And it does get to you a lot. And especially when you're training at 3-4 times a week, you're working on social media, filming content every single day, doing 2-3 shows a weekend, to then go into being quiet, it then goes, it gets to you, it gets to your head, it gets hard. And wrestling at this level, the summer camps is the big thing, where you will get the most bookings, you'll make the most money as such, wrestling wise. Unless you're a big name on these big wages. But if you're someone who is still just working 3-4 times a month, those summer camps where you're working, like I think I worked something crazy like 170 matches in the summer of last year alone,
Wow.
which is more than what most people are doing a year.
Yeah.
But then once you've done that 170 matches, and then it drops off to 50 to 40 to 10, it then just goes, was that my peak? Was that busy time my peak? And have I dropped off? And how do I recover? And I think it's those moments of, I feel like I won't recover off of that. I get in my head way too much, and I question it a lot. Um, because going back to something I said earlier, I do feel like people don't get recognition they deserve, because it can be very clicky in wrestling, which is no secret. And it's something that has frustrated me for a long time. And I'm very honest and vocal. Um, and I think it's something that we need to, try and phase out, because why should so and so get the spot on the show because they're friends with the promoter, or because they're going to bring 4 people to a show? Like, okay, if you get rid of that crappy wrestler and you book someone else who's decent, they might sell 4 tickets and then some for actually being good. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes my mentality gets the better of me in that aspect. It makes me question everything, and that's why I'm lucky to my surroundings, like whether it's my partner or whether it's the trainees around me that go, Liam, like, don't give up on this. You're like, you've got something special here. Don't give up, because you can make it. It's that then pushes me to try and, like I said earlier, be that next best version of me possible.
Yeah. And I think everybody watching this, and anybody that's knows you or been to any of your shows, would know that EVW are still a company, on the rise. That a lot of people are finding out. more and more about every day, every week, every month. And I think that the quality of your products, the quality of the shows, and certainly what you have planned for this year and beyond is definitely something very, very exciting and something to be massively proud of. So, yeah, absolutely. I asked that question because I can only assume, having been part of the business for as long as you have, it must be kind of like a constant grind to stay positive and stay kind of fresh and focused on the end goal. But it sounds like you always do kind of, keep that positive mental attitude. And like I say, the product is looking very, very sharp, my friend. I want to talk about 3 matches, 3 highlights of yours from 2024 in particular. And the first one was Boxing Day 2024, and your casket match against CJ Rawlins. And it actually ended up being CJ Rawlins, his demise in that match. And like I say, his demise out of wrestling, certainly for the foreseeable future. I also want to talk about your match against Simon Quest, show 2 of your 20th, of EVW's 20th anniversary. And what that was the match that ended up being Simon Quest's final match, his retirement match in professional wrestling. And then, of course, the match that I've waxed lyrical about from the Frog and Fiddle last summer, your match for SWW against Jay Joshua in Cheltenham, in the Frog and Fiddle. What a tremendous match. 2 big hosses that can go. And boy, did you 2 go in that ring that night in front of that hostile crowd in Cheltenham. But talk to us about them 3 matches. Possibly 3 of your favorite matches of 2024, certainly 3 that jump out at me. But CJ Rawlins, Simon Quest, and Jay Joshua.
Going like, if we go to like Jay Joshua first, that was the first one on that list. Me and Jay Joshua actually were tag team. I say tag team partners. At EVW, there was a faction. Like I said, around the 2019 era where I first did my initial villain run, and me and Jay Joshua paired up a little bit as a teaming. So it's something that, like, I've known JJ for a long time. He's always had the same "I'm gonna kick you really hard" style. It's like, and that's not me saying that JJ doesn't evolve to get better, but JJ has always, from day dot, his thing has been, "I'm just gonna hit you really hard until you don't get up." So as soon as I seen that graphic online, I knew that, okay, it's time for me to, tighten them laces up a bit more and throw those kicks back, to throw those punches back, because there's not many people in the UK that will hit as hard as Jay Joshua does. And that's not an insult as such. To me, that's a good thing. I enjoy the stiffer style. I prefer working with someone that's going to hit me a bit harder than someone that isn't. So I knew that going into that match, I knew exactly what it was going to be. And I think he did as well. We both knew that we were going to come in here, we were just going to hit each other as hard as possible and keep it entertaining. And we told that story within it as well. And we just wanted to showcase that we're both 2 big lads. We can both move quite fast, and that we're both just going to take each other's heads off. I think it's something that, going back to earlier with the big gym thing, that you don't see very often. So I think that's what made that match very special. And I think that match is what kind of first made a lot of people take notice of me, because they kind of went, okay, Liam Jones is serious. Liam Jones is going to hit you as hard as he can. And then we then go on to the Simon Quest match. And Simon Quest, another one that started at EVW. He was there, his first ever session. UK Dominator was leading in the ring with the group. Me, Dale, and Simon were on the floor with the crash mounts, teaching Simon how to do some bumps and some rolls. And like with Simon, with his height, he was always destined to be a star on the scene. No matter his age and no matter what doubts he had, he was always going to be a star. And I think he proved that in the short time that he did have a career. So it was special that he wanted his last match to be against me. And for a lot of people, they don't realize, going back a couple of years, me and Simon actually had a loser leaves match in EVW before, in the exact venue that his retirement was, which was I won again in the first ever loser leaves match. And I was the same person that brought Simon Quest back. to help me go along a different path of my journey at that time. So to be able to then come back full circle and have that last match actually happen. And I wish I could say that I sent Simon out on a happy high note. Would have been nice, but ultimately I had to, drag his face into the floor as hard as I could and look his kid in the eye, smiling whilst I ended his dad's wrestling career. And that was something special. Watching a little kid smile turn to a frown is just something that there's always enjoyment out of. And then we go to CJ Rawlins Boxing Day. Me and CJ have known each other for a long time. Maybe 2017, I first met him at a company called Slam. They did a Ultimate X that night, and he was in the main event. And the CJ Rawlins, most people know from the last 2 years, is a completely different person to the CJ Rawlins that I first met. CJ Rawlins was a loudmouth. He was arrogant. He was a douchebag. And like, he did ruffle people the wrong way if you didn't know him, because you just thought he was just trying to be a knob. You like with the bright pink, the hair spiked up, and the way he talked. And then so that's when I first met him. Then I met him much later on at Exposure in Wales, and he was a completely different person. He'd gone from wearing bright pink and being cocky to the quiet emo kid in the corner of the room. And so it was really nice to see that change in him and the personality shift, which is why he came back. Well, I say back, that's why he came to EVW, because he had something that he could bring. He had a better attitude he could bring. And CJ Rawlings, especially through 2023, I think that was the highest his career had ever been on the fight. He was everywhere. He was everywhere, winning titles left, right, and center. And that continued into 2024. And so it was just nice to be able to have that final goodbye with CJ as well. I'm sure CJ will eventually come back. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. That's his choices. But so that's another thing that was special to me, is someone that I met many years ago, and we didn't start off on the right foot, managing to become close friends, talking regular, to then saying our final goodbye. And like 2 weeks earlier, he faced T-Bone at what was supposed to be the original Gloucester Prison event. They faced each other in a hardcore match, and it was brutal. It was brutal. There's like a highlight video ready to be posted over the EVW socials, but where it's just so brutal, we're kind of gone like, that can just stay in the drafts for now. That's something that, if you were there to experience it, then you know all about CJ being left there in that pool of blood. Like they went to that extreme. So the wrestler Liam Jones went into that match to pick those last bits of CJ apart. But Liam, his friend, went into that match wanting to make sure his last match was as good as it could be and as safe as it could be. And I think that we did that, and we portrayed that story the best that we could. And then I think going back to about like my favorite matches of last year, I think a very underrated match was me and Simon Quest teaming as the Evolved for a short period of time. We faced the Lane Brothers and Reese and Rogan in a 3-corner tag match at EVW, and I think it's such an underrated match because it was 4 big dudes, the underdog Lane Brothers. There was like just a beautiful story there. And like I said, Reese and Rogan, they're 2 good dudes that I'm very close with. It was the start of the end to the Liam Jones, Simon Quest saga, and it was what set the Lanes skyrocketing off as the big tag team in EVW. I think it was a really underrated match, which helped all 6 of us out for different reasons. And I think they're the special matches that people don't talk about enough, because those matches that elevate you are the ones that they're the ones that should be special. They're the ones that you should keep close to your heart as such.
Absolutely. And just let's jump to some comments. And we got Ref Josh, who's watching us live at home. Thank you, Ref Josh. I've got to know Josh quite a bit, quite well at United Wrestling over the last couple of years. So refreshing to hear someone speak openly about how up and down you can feel in wrestling, in the wrestling grind. So huge respect to you. We got Chris watching us live at home on YouTube. If I can get my words out, come on, Jonas, you can do this. Top wrestler, top trainer. His knowledge is second to none, absolutely. And we jumped to a question from Darren, friend of the show and big fan of yours. Liam, who would be your dream opponent to face, both UK-based and overseas? So do you have any dream opponents? I know that, like I say, you've had some fantastic years under your belt as a professional wrestler. You've faced many, many top names, been involved in some great rivalries and great matches. But do you have any, you know, a lot of wrestlers have like this start a year with a bit of a tick list of who they want to face. Have you got any on yours?
So I did a post recently on this, on how I've never been someone to do bucket lists and stuff like that. It's just I've always been like, if you work for it, you get big things. But I've openly said Wild Boar is someone I'd love to work with. Alexander Roth, someone else who I think is like criminally underrated, who I'd love to work with. Haskins, his intensity is like the best in the UK at this moment, in my opinion. Like, I love to work with Skins. Um, Going back to Dan Maloney, like, I've known Maloney for a long time, and he is just an animal now. I would love to work with Dan, whether it was on a big stage like he's on now, or just back at a community centre. It doesn't matter where it is. I just love to work with Dan. And then at the minute, like, watching like the mainstreams, I love watching Chad Gable. His work is just so crisp. And another one who I think is criminally underrated, same as Jacob Fatu. They are two of the mainstream stars that I'd say, if I ever got to have okay, Liam, here's a couple million that we can book someone big. They're the ones that I think I'd I'd love to work with on a wrestling level, but I also just want to pick people's brains and wrestle them. In the fact of Big Damo, for example, I was supposed to face him at United last year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Is what it is. Wrestling is wrestling. But my first comment I messaged Simon, and I was like, I cannot wait to wrestle him and ask him how to be more intense as a big man. I think that's something else which helps me compared to others, is I love to wrestle people to be able to learn from them. So when it comes to working someone like Fatu, it'd be that aggression. How can I stay aggressive and do the cool stuff like you? When it comes to Gabriel, it'd be how to be fluid. So my dream matches, they're dream matches because they'd be good, but also because I think I would learn from them.
Brilliant. And thank you so much, Darren, for the awesome question. We're going to wrap up very, very soon, but a couple of things I want to kind of open up to yourself is, firstly, the EVW school, the academy. Talk to us a little bit about this, because you mentioned earlier you're one of the trainers there, and I can clearly see Levi Cooper front and center of that academy poster. But you do run classes for all ages, all abilities, pretty much all week long. Tell us a little bit about the academy, and for anybody that might be interested, that live in the local area, that might want to kind of come along, how can they get in touch, and how can they get the ball rolling on their potential wrestling career?
Yeah, so we're set up in Gloucester. We've just moved to within a cheerleading gymnastics facility, actually, called GCA All Stars. When we got flooded out of our last academy and venue, they helped us get back on our feet. So we're now based within there. We run 6 nights, 6 nights a week. We have beginners classes, advanced classes. We have 2 kids classes a week, and we fortnightly do women's classes, just women's classes, because there's something that we're trying to build. We have one announced, and I think another 2 to be announced on all women's events. So there's something else that we're trying to build that community with. A lot of the women at the minute in the women's class, parents from our kids' class, where they're just trying to build that, that connection with their kids and have something in common, rather than they want to be a WWE star. I think it's, they can go home and they can tell their kid they learned a power bomb today or whatever it is. But yeah, we're based in Gloucester, 6 nights a week. Contact myself, contact Evolution Wrestling, contact anyone, contact Levi, Brazen, any EVW lad. You contact them, they will tell you. And the main thing for me, on which will make EVW stand out, is we will teach you properly. We're going to teach you how to do a body slam, and how you're going to post on the hip, how you're going to post on that sternum, no posting on knees here, how you're going to take an arm drag, and how you're going to go over straight, and you're not going to pop your shoulder out. We are trying to set that level of professionalism and making sure you're safe. There's so many other academies out there that you do 2 sessions and they say, come back and we'll learn a WWE finisher. And like those companies, you know who you are, and you should close your school immediately, because if you're not teaching people safe, you should not teach at all. If you are putting people on shows after 6-7 months, you should not be open. So that is where we are standing apart. We are making sure we're safe, we're making sure we're entertaining, and we're just making sure that we're producing the best talent that we can in the Southwest scene.
There we go. Very well said. And I want to talk about this because you are one of the very best people to get in touch with regards to ring hire as well across the UK. As I said, I've worked with you or alongside you at many groups across the UK over the last 2 years. But you are also one of the very best ring hires in the UK. Tell us a bit about that, because that's another string to your bow and keeps you very, very busy at the weekends. But tell us a bit about that. And once again, if there's any promoters out there that want to get in touch, how can they do so?
Yeah, so Evolution Wrestling have 3 wrestling rings. One that's stored in a garage, one that's set up full time for the academy, and one that's in the back of the van used for shows. And it is like, I'm gonna say this, it is the best ring in the country. We have the best spring, we have the best bars, we have the best safety features. Our ring is top tier. And it's just sat in a van unless it's out on a show. So as soon as I got my license and I was put on that ring, the van, to be able to take the ring to shows, it made sense to try and branch out a little bit more and make a bit more money from it in the most honest way. Like I said, this is my full-time job, so if I can get ring hires in, I absolutely will. Most of the time I do ring hires, and this is where I've made these connections. Last year I did a ring hire for Lucha Britannia in January. It was the first time I ever met Gary Vanderhorn, the promoter of Lucha Britannia. And Lucha Britannia is the place where like Will Ospreay started and so many other big names, Callum Newman. And it was the first time I'd ever properly met him. He said, I've had someone pull out of an injury. Can you fill in today? I'm here with the ring. Put me on the show and let's get going. Fight Nation, when it was IWN, doing ring highs for them. I think it was maybe Ashley Dunn was injured and he couldn't make a show. I'm here, put me on the show. And this is how I've made them connections. So our ring is not only the best, I'm going to be there like 90% of the time. If not, I will send a crew out with it. We take it around to holiday parks. We take it around to events. Like the ring is just everywhere, constantly being looked after, which is another thing. If you're someone who has a ring and you're hiring it out and you're not checking your welds or your turnbuckles or your matting or your boards, sort it out. There's too many rings with cracks in the metal work or crappy bits of foam, or I'm going to shout out to Alex Box here with those little crappy bits of wood on your ring. Get rid of it. Like, there's just, it's a good ring. It's an amazing ring. That's all I can say. And contact me is probably the easiest way, Liam Jones. I set up a Facebook page, which is literally called Wrestling Ring Hire UK. It can't get any more simple than that. You need a ring, you type it into Facebook and you will find us. It is a perfect 16-foot ring, and it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Okay, as easy as that. Paddy's been in touch. This man has lied. He's better in the ring than he's telling you. His knowledge is second to none. Always thinking of others first. A true pioneer to the future of UK wrestling, and I think everything we've heard today backs that up 100%. But Liam, it's been an awesome hour and 38 minutes. Can you believe time has absolutely flown? Your battery wouldn't have lasted at all during this long conversation had you not have plugged in your phone. But before we let you go, I've got your socials and EVW socials scrolling along the bottom of the screen, as well as your Big Cartel or EVW's Big Cartel, where fans can go out and get tickets for Prison Break 2 and all the other fantastic shows that you've already got out there, got announced through to the summer and possibly beyond. But just shout out some of your socials on where we can find out more about you and find out more about EVW on Instagram and X. And if you can't remember them, they are scrolling along the bottom of the screen as we speak.
No, Evolution Wrestling, we're on TikTok as well. We're on TikTok, we're on X, we're on Facebook, Instagram. We even got that Blue Sky thing, which I don't know if anyone even uses these days. I think it was supposed to be the next big thing, and I think
Never
it
got
was a bit of
into
a
it.
flop. No, I think it was a bit of a flop, but we are there. Evolution.wrestling is where you can find us. If not, it'll be Evolution Rest. Same for myself. If it's not Liam Jones Rest, it'll just be Liam Jones Wrestler on every platform. I'm sure if you just type in big ugly wrestler with a ginger beard, you'll find me on there somewhere.
That could cover a whole multitude of professional wrestlers. It really could. And I'm going to
If
bring
you
up
typed in very, very ugly ginger beard wrestler, you would find Brazen. That's that.
And it's a bit of a grab of your big cartel where fans can go and click on any of the shows already being advertised through 2025 for Evolution Wrestling. But Liam Jones, my friend, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you for a little while now, but time has absolutely flown. We've covered a lot of ground. I look forward to seeing you at some show or another very, very soon, probably the one at the Frog and Fiddle in a couple of weeks' time. But if you've got any parting words from Born to Do This, Liam Jones, to my audience, to your fans that are watching at home, or any future foes, maybe, I don't know, anybody you want to kind of give some parting words to, what would they be from Born to Do This, Liam Jones?
My parting words, John, is sort out your training school and your post on your body slams. Sort out your crappy rings. If you're a fan at the Frog and Fiddle, stop reaching in the ring to try and grab my head, because next time I will kick you in the face. And if this goes to anyone else that wants to come, for whether it's the Limitless title or anything else, I am going to have the biggest year that I can. 2026 will be even bigger, okay? But right now, 2025, anywhere, everywhere, Liam Jones, we're having it. In the words of Levi Cooper, let's have it.
Brilliant. I couldn't have said it myself. Liam Jones, thank you so much for being an awesome guest, and we'll see you soon, my friend.
Perfect. Thank you, Jonas.